It's a gnat. Can you stop? Here for What's up, YouTube? It is me, Rain, your successfully single coach. Here for all of my people. My people are people pleasers. Those who are have codependency traits. Those who are completely codependent. And also those of us who just have really good hearts. I am that coach because I am you and you are me. I have been there in some ways. I still am there. And I'm using some tools that I've learned and discovered to still gain some peace in my life. So, I want to tell you why I am a coach for people pleasers, for codependents, people with codependent traits, and because you may not fully be codependent, but you may have some traits. That's just you're struggling with. This is not making you happy. And those are really big hearts. The reason why I am a coach for those people is because I am you. I am those people, if you will. I have a course coming up called, it's a bootcamp actually. It's a short 3-day bootcamp. It's called Back Up to Boundaries. Because boundaries, you know what? Boundaries are a people pleaser's best friend. And I actually was going to do a video on something else. But first, let's get into this. Boundaries are a people pleaser's best friend. Boundaries are someone with codependent traits. They're your best friend. Someone with a really great heart. You're just a giver. Honey. Boundary. Okay? Let's get into some reasons why boundaries are so necessary for those people to have some sense of peace, some sense of, I want to say stability, but just like self. Some time with yourself, some time tending to yourself, being able to practice self-care, being able to give to yourself, not judging yourself, not being so hard on yourself, and getting that reciprocity. Okay, getting that reciprocity from other people. So let's get into it. I have 1, 2, 3. I might come back and do another video on this because I wasn't going to do this, but it seems fitting. Okay, so 3 reasons that boundaries may be your best friend. If you are a people pleaser, if you have codependent traits, or if you just have a really big heart and you're a giver. 1 is it sets a limit. So what all 3 of those groups of people have in common is they tend to be givers. If you have a big heart, you have codependent traits, you're a people pleaser, you give. You give and you give, you help and you help. And a lot of times, when that is the case, you're not creating any time for yourself. You may be depleted giving to someone else. You may be broke giving to someone else. You may be struggling with mental health, empowering, encouraging, and giving to someone else. So having boundaries sets a limit. It sets a barrier like, hey, hold on. Now, we discussed that I would do this until 4 o'clock. After 4, I'm going to do me. That's a conversation we had. That's a boundary. Because we know if our people need us, the ones we love and care about, if they need us, and even though we wanted to go at 4, we ain't say nothing because you still doing this? I'll still help you. Are you still doing? No, I got it. Don't worry about the fact that I had plans. Don't worry about the fact that I need sleep. Don't worry about the fact that I got to go straight to work from here. I'll help you. I got you. Because we know how amazing it is to have someone have your back. Let me rephrase that. We know how amazing it would be to have someone have your back because a lot of times we don't get that. We don't get that back. We are the person that we want in our lives. But we're that to everyone else and we're not that to ourselves. So One thing that boundaries does is it sets a limit. Another thing that boundaries do, another reason they're your best friend, it makes room for reciprocity. I said that. It makes room for reciprocity. Sometimes we're doing so much that we're not allowing that person to do back. Or sometimes we're doing so much and we're playing it down that they're not even taking the time. We're not giving them the time to say, you know what? I appreciate you. You know what? You do a lot for me. You know what? I'm glad I have you in my life. Or sometimes when we actually set that boundary and we say, hey, I know that you had a bad day today, but I had a really bad day too. And to be honest with you, I can't really take on your baggage right now, like your emotional baggage, because I'm dealing with my own. If you never would have said that, that person would have kept venting to you, and because you are who you are and you love how you love, you would have gave that advice that they needed. You would have just been that listening ear they needed. You would have whatever it was, but you would have took on that energy. You would have took on that baggage that they had to, that stress that they had to get off of them. Now it's on you. Not necessarily the stress, but the load. It's all on you. And you still have to deal with what you have to deal with for you. But let's say you set that boundary. Let's say you say, I can't do it today. You open up space. You open up room for them to say, what's going on with you? You know what? You never talk about what you're going through. Even though a lot of times it's because they don't ask, but we're not going to get into that. You never talk about what you're going through. I thought you were so strong. You didn't go through anything. I thought your life was perfect. I thought you just handled everything. It gets handled, but it doesn't mean it's not hard. It gets handled, but it doesn't mean it's not stressful. But sometimes we complain about being so isolated and so alone, and we don't set those boundaries when that boundary can actually really help us receive some reciprocity and receive people actually being able to have our back. And it may be so foreign to us that we might not even feel comfortable with it, but roll with it. Allow that person to give you that thing that you actually do desire, that reciprocity. They might not be as good at listening and giving advice as you, keep in mind. But yet and still, when you set that boundary, it opens up room for that. And I know that's something you want, because again, I might not be you, but I'm you. And I know for me, every relationship in my life, I want to be reciprocal. You giving me the same energy I'm giving you or something. It don't have to be identical, but baby, reciprocal. That's what we're working on. The third reason why boundaries are a people pleasers, best friend, someone with codependent traits, best friend, and someone with just a great heart, just a giver. The third reason boundaries are your best friends is because it reminds you that you matter. You know that example that I gave before, and I was telling you they might not be as good at giving advice or even as listening? Okay, I'm gonna speak for myself. I don't tell people a lot about what's going on with me. I believe I don't tell people a lot about what's going on with me. One, because I'm always the listening ear. I mean, this life coach thing was just like, you know, I got a lot of practice in. Not only have I been the listening ear though, but I don't come across many people who actively listen the way I do. And sometimes people just don't care. And for me, if I'm telling you what's going on with me and you're showing me through your body language, through you keep continuously having to repeat myself or something, that you're not listening, to me you're showing me that it don't matter and you don't care about what I got going on. So then I'm not just thinking, why did you ask? I'm thinking that when people do ask, they really don't want to know. They really don't care. Something I'm working on. Okay. But setting that boundary, again, it can leave space for people to be reciprocal. It definitely sets a limit so that you're not doing too much and you have something to give to yourself, or you just stop and you just chill and relax and decompress and be. because that's okay too. Just be. That's like when you're turning something down and you're saying no, you don't want to go and do something. Oh, you got plans? No. I'm gonna just lay in bed and watch Law and Order marathons, but that's what I want to do, and that's okay. Retracting back to where I was saying, I definitely have felt like my conversation doesn't matter, or my life experiences don't matter, or what's currently happening in my life doesn't matter because of the response that I got from someone. Why my head shining right there? The response I got from someone who asked me what's going on with me, you know. For me, I'm not gonna tell you again. Every time it's cool, I'm cool. I'm not going to tell you again. I'm not going to sit back and share with you what's happening with me. But additionally, because again, I want reciprocal relationships in my life, I'm aware that you can't have the access to me that you're used to, because I need reciprocity. And clearly you don't know how to give me that, and that's okay. But now that I know boundaries are my best friend, it reminds me that I matter, what I have to say matters, and that lets me keep that person at a distance. That lets me remove access of myself from that person. That lets me feel okay with me even coming to the conclusion that maybe we're not as good of friends as I thought. Maybe that person, you know, is a relative and they love me, but I could love them from a distance. Or, you know, they can love me and we can spend time together. But when it gets to that point where I'm going to feel unappreciated, I'm going to feel lack of reciprocity, I'm going to feel that we're not exchanging the same energy, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. Those are things that I have found why boundaries are my best friend. I think if you have those traits, if you were in those three groups, people pleasing, codependency traits, a big heart, a giver, I think you'll find that they can be your best friend too. So again, let's recap. 1, boundaries sets a limit. Sets a limit, and you should have a limit. We cannot pour from empty vessels. If your cup is empty because no one's pouring into you and you're pouring out to everybody else, and you continue to do that because you're not setting a limit, that's going to be very draining on you. And so many different things can happen from that being very draining on you. People get hospitalized from exhaustion. You know, people have breakdowns because you're not tending to you and no one else in your world is. Okay, number two, it makes room for reciprocity. Speaking up, using your voice, creating that boundary can make room for someone to realize that they have not been to you what you've been to them. Because now, it's a limit. Setting boundaries. This is different. She must really be tired. She must really be going through something. She must really be. Sometimes you make it look so easy that they don't get it. She must really be. Okay, what's going on with you? Let me be for you who you are for me. Again, not the easiest thing because you're a real one, but still, it leaves room for that. And the third thing, it reminds you that you matter, because you definitely 100% do. And sometimes you're so busy giving to so many people and not yourself that you're not showing yourself that you matter. Other people aren't showing yourself that you matter, and you may start believing that you don't actually matter. And the crazy thing about that is, all that you're giving to all these people, it's a big deal. Like, that alone shows you how amazing you are. That alone shows you how much you matter. So I hope this was helpful. If you fall in any of those categories, if you identify with any of this, I hope that you will begin to consider setting boundaries. And I will be doing another video about what that looks like, because you may think you have boundaries. We gonna see. Again, I am Rain of SuccessfullySingle.Online, Successfully Single Coach. To my posse, all my people pleasers, my codependency trait havers, and my givers, my kind-hearted people. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. So God bless. Have a good one. See you in the next video.